Welcome to another episode of Talkin Shop. I've got my buddy Kyle Van Pelt from Atlanta. He took a day trip in to come over here and talk FinTech and the future of financial advice and everything. So I wanted to make sure we got a couple videos out of him before he heads back tonight.
Yeah.
So we're going to do one now, then we're going to have lunch, and we're going to come back and do another one. But Kyle, can you give FinTwit and everybody out there kind of an update on what's going on in the FinTech space? What's got you real excited, and for the advisors out there, how and why we should consider the FinTech space being a partner in our future rather than competition?
Yeah, so it's great to be here. What's up, FinTwit? So the things that have me excited, and this might seem a little bit counterintuitive, but I think we're starting to see a lot of consolidation in the space, which has been a long time coming. I've talked to a lot of people before. I feel for people like you and a lot of the other advisors where it feels like every day there's 30 new technology companies that sprout up, and you did not get into this to try and vet 30 different technologies every day that works for your business. And I think that all of that came from this mentality of we wanted to try and build best of breed solutions for every single portion of your business. But what's exciting to me is you don't need that. Technology should not be the point. It should sort of fade into the background and give you and other advisors out there leverage to do what you want to do, which is work with clients, help them achieve goals, and help them hit their financial plans. So I think as much hullabaloo as there has been about Envestnet buying Money Guide and some of these other things you're seeing, that kind of activity has been a long time coming. You're going to see other companies, I think, start to create maybe 4 or 5 big platforms that do a lot of what you need, and then those brands are going to win the loyalty of advisors like you to make your life easier rather than have to try and integrate 30 different things. So that's really exciting to me. A couple of companies that I think are really interesting that a lot of people haven't heard about in this space. I really love a company called Data Points. Okay. I think you might have had her on your podcast. Her name's Sarah Falah.
I have not, but I'm familiar with Data Points.
Okay, so Sarah is awesome, and Data Points is really cool. So shouts to Sarah. I always say this, I think it's the way to describe it, but she has used decades worth of data from the Millionaire Next Door and research from those sorts of properties to build software that helps predict who is going to be wealthy.
Okay.
So her platform would allow an advisor like you to run me through an exercise and be able to find out, is this a client who I would want to work with? Are they going to be someone who's going to eventually grow into wealth, or is their behavior going to sabotage them?
Okay.
So I think that's really cool and exciting. It's different. It's something that even me as a client would want to do. Hey, am I going to end up being wealthy? It's like a fortune teller style thing with data behind it. Another company that has been in Silicon Valley for a little while but starting to get into the advisor space is a company called Ladder.
Okay.
So I believe a lot in term life insurance. I think that's good and smart for people. We were talking about that earlier. Ladder is interesting because it actually helps you as you become more self-insured. They ladder down your term policies for you in an automated way so that you're not spending too much on insurance.
So do you have to go through on that? Not to get too deep, but do you have to go through underwriting every time, or do they have it structured where since you're going down in insurance, you don't have to be reinsured? Do you know?
They have an algorithm that basically underwrites it for you every time that you're laddering it down. So that's kind of their secret sauce, as it will, as they're creating that technology layer on top of the insurance. And I think when you look at the insurance world as a whole, it's just very inefficient. The products can be great. Term life insurance is a great product, and there's other products that are very useful for clients, but it's really hard to get them into those products. So while maybe you would have said to a client a while ago, hey, it makes sense to ladder you down from 3 to 2, but you know what, the pain for both of us to underwrite and do all these things again, it's just not worth it. Let's just keep paying the extra $10 a month or something along those lines. Now it's, they're taking the pain out of that and it's working.
And if you can make it easier for the client, especially when it's life insurance, nobody wants to talk about life insurance because we're talking about death. And even if it's from the standpoint of lowering your premium, we're still thinking about death and not being here. It's hard to get people moving in that direction. So I think if it simplifies it, that's great. It makes it easier for them.
Yeah, I agree. Those are some of the platforms that I think are really interesting. And then I'm really intrigued to see what continues to happen with the breakaway movement, right? So there's been more news, it feels like even more than ever, about people leaving the big wire shops like Morgan and Merrill going fully independent, right? So before it was sort of a stair step. They would leave Morgan or Merrill and go to LPL or Cetera or Advisor Group or Commonwealth. That's still happening, but it feels like at a more rapid rate, they're leaving the wires to come fully independent. And I think from a technology side, that's really overwhelming. When you, as we were saying in the beginning, there's so many options. I'm interested to see what ends up happening with those collision courses.
Well, I think that like groups like the XY Planning Network, which I'm in, they make that breakaway a little bit easier because they have a tech stack that's part of the membership. So they kind of go through, and I know they spend a lot of time figuring out what's the best tech, and they survey us advisors that are in it to make sure it's good. But they kind of narrow the focus down for you. So you don't have to figure out which CRM you're going to use. If you don't want to go through that path, they've got one lined up. They've got a financial planning software lined up that you can use. So that way you just figure out, you go out on your own, you plug into the network, and now you've got your tech stack and you can tune out all that other noise. I like all that other noise, but it does get overwhelming. And I've got to the point where it would have to be something very new or interesting to make me field a phone call to deviate from what I have, because I feel good with what I have. It's some of the bigger name stuff, so I feel like they're getting everything. But I also want to be ahead of the curve on some of this technology. So I tend to be an early adopter and okay to do that in my personal life. And I would be willing to be an early adopter on some technology if it made sense for my firm, but it's got to be a compelling argument. And I think the program is more like the latter, and the things that will help our practice and helping our clients are more intriguing than a new CRM with a new feature or a new rebalance software. Like, that's not really going to move the needle, but if you can help my clients get insurance, save money, and make it not something I have to do, and make it pain-free for them, then I'm all about learning about stuff like that. So I think that to me, for what you talked about, programs like that, companies like that are real exciting.
Absolutely. So then I think the last thing I would want to talk to you a little bit about is just planning software. So I think there's tons of conversation about how the industry is evolving with planning and all sorts of different things like that. I just want to hear for you, what do you think would make planning software really interesting?
I think I don't know. I mean, I think the planning software covers a lot. As I was telling you, I use the planning software a lot early on, but then as it's maintenance mode of the clients, we can still consult back to it, make sure things are on track, but we're not spending a lot of time in it unless there's a big change to the plan. So we go for years at a time where everything's kind of status quo, nothing major has changed, we're saving more, we're moving that way, but we're not really needing to spend a lot of time into it. I think the ability to play out different scenarios, thinking of younger clients, factoring in, okay, we're going to work until we're 55 or 60, and then we're going to go start a consulting business. How do we figure out what kind of capital do we need to start that business? How can we represent that in there? And how do we represent the second phase? So I think more of moving away from the traditional work until 65 and retire. If there's a way that's convenient and easy to see that we're going to have a career and then we're going to have a secondary career before retirement where we're going to do something else, and representing that as a part of the plan, because now you basically build in a secondary income. It shows up, but it's not, you can't show that transition as well as I would like to see. So I think that'd be the biggest thing. So,
and you can maybe help me understand this as an advisor using it. It sounds like you're saying you want to be able to run a plan for people with like phases of their life. So that it's not, and today the phases broadly are accumulation and decumulation, but it'd almost be cool to be able to put people in buckets of, okay, you're in this portion, we know that you have a goal of building your business, so here's the plan for this bucket, and then when we start the business, here's the plan for that bucket, and be able to just sort of ladder their plan into different portions of their life,
and make it easy to do. I think you could do it now; it would take a lot of time. Or, millennials value family time and change, building in a sabbatical. Like I have friends that they've taken a year off, and I think you could build that into the planning software now, and you would see it, but it wouldn't be as clear. And I think from a young person's perspective, if I could see my sabbatical in there as a part of the plan rather than just a line item that we've had to kind of configure in there so it's there, to see that sabbatical as a big part of the plan, I think is very empowering that I'm reaching this goal that's important to me. And from an advisor standpoint, it'd be very helpful to say, hey, client, I hear that this is very important, and we're building your plan to your life and what you want to see have happen, and your sabbatical is a big part of this plan, or your business when you're 55 is a big part of this plan, and you can see it clear rather than just being a little built-in income stream or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I would love to be able to have a plan figured out where there's a sabbatical somewhere in there, especially, you know, with 4 little kids, thinking about when they get to a critical point in their lives, being able to really enjoy that critical portion via sabbatical. That's cool.
All right, that's a good wrap from here. The battery is flashing. I've been nervous the last 2 minutes we talked that it's going to die. So let's break here, go grab lunch, and when we come back, let's talk more about the future of financial services and whether or not us advisors should be afraid or embrace the technology we kind of talked about.
Cool.
So we'll be back with another episode. Thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you next episode.
Later, FinTwit.